So I've been gone. First off, I don't know why it took me this long to understand that one must film horizontally on this platform for people who are both on phone and on computer or TV watching this. I doubt my reach has gotten that far yet, but we are on the way up. Wellness check-ins. How is everybody doing? It has been lovely to come back on here and speak to you all again. Literally before I took this video, I was already talking to myself about this vest. I got this one from an indigenous seller in Colorado at their thrift store. This is made out of llama fur. They have llama and alpaca farms up there, which I think is so cool. I'm like, wow, whoa, hold on. It was only $25. If it wasn't this snazzy, like, come on now, y'all. Like, it's got the pockets too. I wouldn't be buying it, but it's handmade. And so I was like, $25? Absolutely, I'm getting this because I'm not going to get this anywhere else. And what I was saying to myself on the stairwell, just looking at the wall, staring as though I was actually talking to a real person, which there was no other real person there. I'm kind of psychotic. I was saying how every single time I've had an article of clothing in my closet that didn't have a matching item to go with it, it's always showed up at the most random points in time, and I kind of put it out there because I do like matching. If I can't match my clothing, I don't want to wear it at all. I will be naked running through the fields of Elysium, like Persephone. What is her name? That's her name, right? Poor woman. Y'all ever look at shapes worn into your clothing, worn into your blankets? The way that a curtain falls sometimes, and you look at like the folds of the curtain and it makes like a figure or a shape or a face or whatever. I see a race car on my blanket, which is very random, but the sun is shining, and as you all know, I love when that happens because I'm happy whenever the sun is happy. Let me get into a poem. It's very warm. Wow, I love that. I mean, duh, it's the sun. I've written quite a lot on every single trip that I've been on, and I'm going to choose something from one of those trips. Who knows what these poems are about? I'm going to revisit them in a moment. Give me 1 second. I just read this one poem that I may not share today just because I don't want to. I feel like now could be the time, but I want to share it elsewhere. But I love it. It's about love, and it was a moment that I shouldn't even be explaining, so I'm not going to read it. Never mind. I take it back. I'm going to read it. I've made a habit of dating every single thing that I write from now on just because I want to look back and know when I wrote it and see my progression over time. And I think I mentioned this in another video, but here's the redundancy. Manifestations are redundant. That's how they come to life. When you say them over and over and over again, but you constantly forget about them until they happen, and then you're like, wow, look at that. It came to me when I wasn't even looking for it. Best thing that happens, ever. Okay. I am prepared to love someone even if they don't love me back. In fact, I'm prepared to tell them that, even if they don't like it, even if they won't accept it. And if they don't understand what it means for someone to love them, even when they can't return the feeling, I'll save my words for Amun and keep loving in silence. Amun has sent me beauty in many forms, all of whom I admire quietly. If anyone knew, some would call me crazy. Some would not be happy. Some would turn away. Oh, but I give up trying to make sense to others these days and to myself. I am free. Love is weird, love is stupid, but I love anyway as I please, and silently, and these days, silence seems to be the way. I'm okay with that for now. But if the time does come for me to confess, I won't tell a lie. I will expect rejection and accept it with a smile. I'll let this beauty tame me, then return me to the wild, while somewhere out there, someone waits to hold me for a while. And then I have a little quote below that says, hopefully for good. Kind of wrapping together that longing to be held by someone, even when you are patiently waiting for the right one to come along. And there might be plenty of right ones, but I feel as though everybody eventually just wants to be with one person. I mean, unless you're polyamorous, which is fine. Not my thing, but power to you. I'm in a stage of my life where I have kind of relinquished power from trying to manifest something for me. Let me not say that. I've given out the manifestations and I have forgotten them. Like I said, it'll come one day. My goal is to be with one person for the rest of my life. Who knows when that'll happen? I don't know when that'll happen. But what I'm trying to say is I'm very patient for it. I love love. Love is beautiful and I love witnessing it and I love seeing it and I love when people can truly experience it in a way that isn't harmful, because that's what love is. Anything that harms, that's not love. And I'm not going to hear anybody tell me, "Oh, well, sometimes it's complicated." No, love is I refuse to accept that love is complicated. I refuse to accept that. If you love someone, you like people say, you learn how to let go. The control that you have when it comes to loving them, when it comes to them loving you back, when it comes to the changes that happen over time in both of your lives. You're individuals that come together. It's not just the two of you against the world, you know? It feels like it, but there's so many other factors that play into a relationship that you have with someone else and the relationship that you have with yourself and the world. It changes frequently, and the only thing that you can do is just learn how to move through it. But you can't control any part of it, and that's fine. I'm at that stage of knowing that something good will come to me, but not expecting it right away. Because if I put that energy out there of expecting something to come when it's not ready for me, or when I'm not ready for it, that I'll receive something instead that I may not like. And I don't want that. And granted, anything could happen still, but I'm patient. And I'm in a great space right now with that patience. I've built a great relationship with it where I accept it. And it feels nice to not have to think about love all the time. Because, you know, being young and hormonal, I'm less of that now. I'm still young, but less hormonal in my teenage years. I would always be like, oh, I just want to find the one for me. I just really want to, you know, be in love forever, when I didn't really know what love was and was in my head and like these fantasies or whatever. But now where was I getting at with that? But now I'm just, you know, I'm doing what I love. I'm in a space where I love my own company, and I've always loved my own company, really honestly. But now I'm like, now I don't want to say it in this way, but I've kind of tuned everybody else out. Not in a negative way where I can't let anybody else in, but I'm just like, I'm drifting in my own little plane right now and accepting the people in that I recognize also drift in that same plane rather than people I know I'm not compatible with. And it's a great space that I'm in right now. I think it's important for people to get to that point where you're not looking for everything outside of yourself, because you don't need anything outside of you. Feeling like you need other things to make you whole, that's not healthy. Honestly, that's how I feel about that. You're the only person that can make you whole. You must mend your relationship with yourself. I've learned how to do that. I don't think I've ever spoken about my past like in depth, and I don't think I will, because it's not important anymore. Not in the sense that I've forgotten about it. I remember it and I've grown from it and I've learned how to move through it, and I've learned how to heal from it. And there's some other things that I'm still healing from and still relearning, but I'm not in that space of feeling like I need this and that and this and that to kind of build me up again. I never was in that space because I learned early that you really need yourself in the end. Um, but this is kind of going on a whole different tangent. I hope you could take something from that though. But all in all, love is beautiful and it'll come at the right time. And try not to worry so much about it. You might get something that you didn't ask for, and that's actually not funny. I don't know why I laughed. That's not funny. You will be very thankful once you do receive the very love that you asked for, after you've forgotten about it for a while and lived in your own truth and your own purpose and done the things that you love. Obviously, I'm still learning that. I'm only 22. I'm just saying this because I know it to be a universal truth, but I'm still witnessing it myself. Let's move on to the next poem. It is 22 minutes. I hope that this is shorter. This is a poem I don't really understand. Now, something that I have noticed over time writing, for all the years that I've been writing, is oftentimes I write something and I don't understand it yet until years later, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's a strange position I've put myself in. It's almost as though something is speaking through me. Maybe it's just my subconscious, maybe it's my ancestors, maybe it's universal wisdom, I have no idea. But I find it very cool that that's the experience that I've been having with my writing. Sometimes I write something that just, comes out like spit and it makes sense right away and I love how it sounds. And then other times I write trash, and then other times I write something that I'm like, interesting. I don't really know what I just wrote, but then it eventually makes sense to me. This one doesn't really make sense to me still, but I'm going to read it. I don't know what it's about, so it has no title, but I wrote it on the 7th of May. I was sitting at my kitchen table, actually, and I was staring at dried baby's breath, which is one of my favorite cut of flowers. It dries the same as it lives, and I love that because you get to stare at it all the time, and it doesn't really change, except for the stems. The stems get brown over time, but the flowers kind of stay the same. But I was looking to my left. The sun was coming in through the slide door, and I was just sitting. I think I ate, and then I finished eating, and then I just sat, letting my food digest, and I looked up at these flowers, and I watched them for a while, and I was like, and here I go. This is the result of that. I don't know. There's a family of flowers in front of me, devouring the melancholic melody of everyday redundancy, as I sit in a silent room, absorbing the final light, crying through the window to my left, until there's nothing left but dust and sorrow, till the sun comes back tomorrow. Hopefully he'll bring with him new flowers, a fresh bouquet with whom I'll stare for hours on end until I meet my own on the other side of that window, when the final light should have my soul and free me from their sad, redundant life. I get it now. It was a sad poem. It was a poem meant to be sad, but let me not laugh at it. Let me think about it for a moment. I guess I was sitting and watching these flowers and watching the sun come through the window as though like reaching for them, reaching to give them life again, even though they're not dead. I don't believe these things ever die, but they're not alive. They're kind of in a stasis in between. But they won't come back the way that they were before. And they can't. Water can't nourish them anymore. Thus, people could declare them dead because they can no longer be nourished by something. But I guess that's what I was thinking about. The flowers now kind of living a redundant life on my table every single day. It doesn't really get to wake up. It's just there, watching the sun reach through the window or through the slide door to touch it, but it doesn't really feel it. Interesting. That just clicked in my brain. Whoa. And that's kind of like living a life that's not, in your purpose. Your purpose is now kind of gone because somebody has cut you from your foundation where you once were growing, and they've placed you on their table to admire, but you kind of are just there. You don't really live a happy life. You're just there for someone else's pleasure, you know? That's quite the story. Wow, that's really sad. I really got to sit with that now because I think about people who aren't living in their purpose. Everything else in this world is kind of doing that. Plants and animals, they can't really separate themselves from their purpose. They can't really be deterred from their purpose unless it's by the hands of us. And we do see that happening. Going back to, a person living in their purpose. once you deviate from it, you know, like you intuitively know, your mind feels it, you mean your mind, body, and soul are all connected, but the soul is you, and you feel it. You feel when you're not doing what you must, what you're not put here to do, whether you believe in, a divine power having put you here to do anything, but everybody has something that they're good at and that they love, and that's what I'm getting at. And when you don't do what you love, when you're deviated from that path because of someone else, whether that is someone else uprooted you from your life on purpose and there's nothing you can do, or you're living to please them, which is something that you have to get over essentially and move on from, and you start to feel ill within your own skin because now you're living for them and not for you. And I guess I was thinking about those cut flowers being that kind of human, not existing in their purpose anymore. And that is one of the saddest things. I feel it is the saddest thing. A lot of us are not able to live in our purpose these days, or at least we feel like we can't because of the way that our societies are set up. Me living in the US, where you have to pay for everything. You literally have to pay for everything. Things are getting more expensive. Rent is going up. The cost of cars is going up. You have to pay a card note, and then you got to pay insurance on top of that. You got to pay a mortgage. You just have to pay for everything. You have to pay for school. Thousands and thousands of dollars to get an education. How equitable is that? And it's all these barriers that we put in in place of people's paths in life just to make it harder, just so that the 1% can continue to be the 1%, feeding off of our pain, which deviates us naturally from our purpose of being happy in what we love to do. And I'm not saying that you can't work hard to get there, but why should we have to work so hard to do what we love? We have to work so hard to do what we love whilst working for someone else that we don't really care for, making them rich, even though rich is a state of mind at the end of the day. But money is not. You need that these days. You need that for a lot of reasons. And I'm deviating from the original purpose of this video or this poem again, but you all get what I mean. When I was sitting there, I do remember the feeling of like this sadness coming over me after I finished eating, looking at these flowers on my table, and they're still there. And I'm not gonna lie, they're gonna stay there because I'm not gonna just throw them out. I could turn them into food for my other plants that are growing. Thank goodness they're growing too, and not just dead on my table. But I would like to admire them, at least give them that. But am I giving them something? Or am I taking away from them continuously? Anyways, the feeling is what I was sitting with, and this poem is a result of that feeling. But yeah, that's all I'm going to do for today. I am excited to put this one out because these two poems hold quite the place in my heart, especially the second one, having forgotten about it and then come back. Now that I've dissected it a little bit, it's quite melancholy and yet very personal at the same time to all of us in a way. So I'll just leave off saying, I know it's difficult, but like people have said, sometimes you got to do what you got to do so that you can do what you want to do. You can do both at the same time. It depends on your situation, but please work towards living in your purpose, what you love to do, because joy is all that we need. And in the end, when we have nothing left, I would like it to be joy, to be the one thing that we do have amidst all that we don't. And it doesn't take much but just doing what you love to cultivate that joy. And who knows, maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm just saying crap, but I'm going to believe it for now. And I'm wishing that for everybody watching this video and everybody who isn't watching this video, because things are getting crazy these days, but we can still be sane. We must keep our head on our shoulders. We must keep our minds. We must not lose them. But most importantly, it is revolutionary to live in your purpose, to do what you love, and to do it hungrily. This felt like a sermon. But anyways, I'm gonna go. I've got things to do, people to meet. Life is great over here. Life has become lighter And I'm gonna hold on to that for a while, because I deserve this. Have a lovely day, you all, and I will see you next time. That's that. I haven't forgotten about that. Bye.